Session 9. I'll share the page with you and then we can look at this together. Here we are. There's your session 9. So completing the worksheets before the class, reading the Ruth Hole book, completing the boxes on the endocrine system. It's really important that you fill all the worksheets in and the boxes. It's all part of the course, and the examiner will be looking at the coursework, however, whether it's online or not. So this is quite a bit this time. It covers a lot of ground, but it's all in your, but the answers to most of it is in a handout on the holistic approach and integrated biology and the contributory lifestyle. Big subject, really interesting. Hope you enjoy it and get a lot out of it. So this is a revision. Give 3 points that a reflexologist could use to explain reflexology to a new client. And I can't emphasize enough how important it is to, I would say, learn this paragraph here like a mantra. This is from Anne Galanders. Reflexology is a science which deals with the principles that there are reflexes in the feet and hand relative to all organs, functions and part of the human body. Applying pressure to these points can bring about amazing results. Reflexology relieves stress, can normalize function, balances the body and can relieve pain. Now, if you learn that or the gist of it, when somebody asks you, you know, you've got something to say. And so please learn how to explain reflexology in a nutshell. So there are other points here, that it's working on the feet. Believe it or not, I've had someone phone me up, not realize it was at feet, that it's working on the feet and or hands. You could do the ears and the face as well, that stimulates the rest of the body by working on the feet. It stimulates blood flow and the nervous reaction to the foot. But I would find some really key points, and better still, learn that paragraph and you're laughing. Learn it like a poem. So 2 reasons why the consultation stage is important. One of the things for the consultation is to find out if there's any contraindications and if you can't go ahead, because if you find that you can't go ahead, then you know, you're wasting your time. So you can't make a treatment plan unless you've done a consultation. You want to make sure as well that the client's got a realistic idea about the treatment. Maybe their friend went to a reflexologist and they never had any more sciatica after that. Well, we can't guarantee that. It can happen, but it's no guarantee. So we need to make sure that the client's got a realistic expectation. It helps you to tailor your treatment, because if their main problem is aches and pains, then you may not want to do too many relaxation movements and cut their massage at the end. Because if someone's come for relaxation, then you would do more relaxation techniques and maybe even do a massage at the beginning as well as at the end. So you really make it for them. It's the beginning of a therapeutic relationship for you to build a rapport to your client, and so that you can find out exactly what they need and what their concerns are. And one of the things it's important is that the client feels listened to, because this could be one of the only times that someone's actually listened to them. You haven't got to solve their problems. They might tell you all sorts of things. All you need to do is listen and say, that must be really difficult for you if they're telling you something really tricky. Don't get involved in a conversation that Don't feel you've got to, that's madness lies there. Trust me. Give one reason why a reflexologist explains the possible effects of a reflexology treatment. So some reflexologists don't actually do this, but it would be a good idea really to let them know that they might be feeling extra tired or sleepy, or it might give them a headache. Everybody reacts differently. And as the next question is, give two possible effects of a reflexology treatment. These are all what you've done in the past for your coursework. So just have a look, see what you've done before and pop it on there. They may need to go to the loo more. They may dream. They may feel more energetic. Suggest two factors that would influence the date of a client's second treatment. Well, two things that would influence it would be time, theirs and yours, also their money, if they can afford it, and also their health, of course. If they had something really chronic, then it could be that having it close together would help. Chronic problem is one that's been going on for a long time, so it could be that they need more treatments, because the longer a treatment's been going, the more treatments, the more they've been suffering from something. If they've been suffering from something for 2 years, they would need more treatments than if someone's just suffering it from a few weeks. That's how it goes. So here we've got a gentleman who's recently twisted his lower back playing golf. And so other than pain, what other symptom might the client present with? Well, one of the, you could pick something, whatever you like. I thought he'd be anxious because he wants to play golf. And a system that's affected, then for what is wrong with him is his muscular system, but also his nervous system, I would say. So the imbalanced reflex would be his lumbar. And a change to treatment, well, it could be that the treatment is a little shorter, that you haven't been doing you don't do all the relaxation techniques as much, or so much massage, because you're doing maybe like an emergency treatment. And so you're concentrating, you'd give an overall treatment, but you wouldn't be dwelling on different parts. You'd just be concentrating on the lumbar. And the benefit might be that he's finding it really, really difficult to sit for long. So that's what I would suggest. But you could come up with another suggestion. Your tutor can come out with another suggestion. So here we've got Ronald again. We saw him earlier. And now we're looking at aromatherapy for him. So what's the definition of aromatherapy? So just look it up, Google it. Or I think the Ruth Hole book probably has got, I'm sure it's got complementary therapies in here, so get it from there. So it's a holistic treatment that uses natural plant extracts to promote health and well-being, and uses the aromatic essential oils to improve the health, because it can be used for the chest, it can be used for the skin, it can be used for the mind, a huge range of the digestive system, all sorts of things for the aromatherapy. So this is helping you to learn what other therapies do. So the essential oils can be mixed by an aromatherapist for the respiratory system, and they could make up maybe a cream for him, or a lotion that he could rub in his chest at night or in his back. That could be something. Other than reflexology, another therapy could be massage, because the aromatherapist could also offer a massage. And the physical effects of massage is it can help with muscle tension, reduction of stress hormones, because he's going to be stressed if he's got a bad back, and help the recovery of soft tissue injuries. So yeah, and you can just Google what massage would do. So this one here, I'm not going to go through all the answers because the handout that we give you has got everything in it. So the holistic approach, and really it's looking at the whole person. You need to answer more than I'm going to say. I'm just sort of talking around it. So the holistic approach is looking at the whole person and bringing the body back to homeostasis. So give an example of how mental attitude and emotions can affect the physical health of the body. Well, if someone's feeling very angry and negative, they could end up with chest pains, because not because of a heart attack necessarily, but because the chest is all tightened up and they'll end up in pain because of it. It's called somatic, when the way somebody feels emotionally and mentally comes back on their body, and they could end up with arthritis and other pains because they're so tense and angry that their body then responds. 2 ways in which your listening skills could benefit your client, because there's so many ways, but one is that maybe no one's ever listened to them properly before, and they can feel relaxed for the first time and be able to let go a little bit. So the concept of the healing crisis or the healing response, because we don't want to call it crisis anymore. This is from the old days, really. So don't call it a healing crisis. We call it the healing response. So you'll have to cross it out in your book, and please put healing response. So that is that the body may feel worse before it gets better, and that's how it sometimes is. So a visit to the doctor can result in the symptoms being alleviated, but the patient still doesn't feel better. That's because it's the symptoms that are looked at instead of the whole person. The benefits of treating the mother is quite often the mother I'm not being horrible, but she can be part of the problem because of her worry is bringing it and passing it on to the child. So it would be better to treat both of them if possible. The next one, painkillers. Well, it would be best to find out what the root cause of the problem is instead of taking headaches. And the principle of Herring's law is that you get better from the bottom up and the inside out. So it has to start. So sometimes it isn't always obvious that people are getting better because it's taking time to gradually come to the surface about what the actual problem is, because sometimes there can be layers that you have to. People aren't one-dimensional, and so it takes time for them to heal, and it doesn't happen overnight if it's been a chronic condition. Integrated biology, the fight or flight response. This is as if there was a lion come in and our body acts in a way as if we were going to run, because we would have to run, and all the blood goes to our muscles, and our liver releases the glucose, and the digestive system shuts down, and we get ready for either fighting or running. Because the last thing you need, see, the fight or flight response can affect the body, because the last thing you think of, if somebody came into your house, or you and your children, just imagine you had children, if you haven't got any, came in to rob you, the last thing you'd think is, I feel a bit hungry, I wish I could have a chocolate biscuit. You don't think that, because you're your mind is working overtime, and you get strength, your adrenaline kicks in, and your nervous system, you've got the, I don't know if you've done the nervous system yet, but you've got these autonomic nervous system where you've got the parasympathetic nervous system, where it's like a kite coming down to you, calm you down. And then you've got the sympathetic nervous system that G's you up. Well, that kicks in straight away, the sympathetic. The parasympathetic's nowhere, because you're not going to be feeling calm in a situation like that. So the nerves kick in straight away before the adrenaline, because nerves can, it's like electricity. Then the adrenaline also, and people are actually stronger when they're in that fight or flight, because if something fell on a child, you'd be able to lift it up, you'd be able to lift whatever it is up, because you would have superhuman strength and the child would be fine, you know. So we're not going to it's something horrible, but if anything happened, you would be able to do it. You'd be able to get through a window that another time you think, oh, I don't think I'd be able to get my leg over there. Well, you would, because you would be over there like a shot. It affects the fight or flight affects your breath. As I say, your digestion system shuts down. And that's one of the things, is that if you're not being chased by a lion, or you're not got the burglar come in, but you are stressed, your body is ready for this fight or flight. So your digestive system is shut down, isn't it? So that's why, one of the reasons why a lot of people get IBS, because their digestive system isn't getting the nourishment that it needs, because the blood is shunting to the limbs ready to run. Your body's releasing this glucosol for energy, which actually you're not going anywhere. So you're just feeling like that. And yeah, so that's why stress isn't good for you, because your heart rate's going as well, to pump all the blood round. Posture, well, if we have poor posture, sit poor posture, if you see the guy that's sitting there, he's squashing his lungs. So that's going to constrict his breathing, and his back is also going to have, he's going to have backache, isn't he? So here we have somebody that's in an office there. They've got a mobile phone or a phone under their chin, and that is quite a common thing for people to do in an office, to sit like that while they're typing. And because now they have these fancy headphones, don't they? But if you're not someone whose job is to always be doing that, they can easily fall into that trap. So if somebody comes to you and they've got a neck problem, you ask them how they work. If they've got a bus driver, if there's a bus driver, for instance, they're going to, this is why it's important to know what people do for a living, because he's going to be very stressed and may have a back problem because of all that sitting down. So this here, it tells us that 75% of illness is stress related, and disease literally means dis-ease. See, the body is not at ease. So there's research that shows that there's links between the emotions and the immune system, and that it supports the view that the emotional and physical health are linked. Well, I wrote this donkeys years ago, and it's more true now than ever. I used to teach stress management, and I would write on the board dis-ease, and that's a nice little thing to remember, because that's what it is. It means the body isn't at ease. And there's a psychoneuroimmunology. That was a new science at the time, which looks at the mind, the nervous system, and the immune system, and how they're affecting each other. And that's becoming more and more apparent now. And now we've got Dr. Chatterjee talking about it as well, bless him. And we know for sure that the way people are with their emotions and their mental health affects their physical health. So this is a good definition of stress here, that stress can involve any interference that disturbs a person's emotional and physical well-being, and the stress becomes unacceptable when the pressures are beyond the individual's ability to cope. So it's not necessarily what's happened, it's whether it's beyond the person's ability to cope, and that will depend on their lifestyle, their DNA, how they've been treated as a child, how they've been treated as an adult, how well they keep themselves as regards food, exercise, everything, and how many other things have been happening in that same vein, whether it's the last straw. So factors that can contribute towards stress, well, you know, the list is endless, isn't it? So some signs and symptoms of stress: people have accidents. If someone has an accident, it, for whatever reason, if it's not necessarily in the car, or they fall off a ladder, or they've hurt their back or something, you can usually almost guarantee that there's been something going on in their life at the time. And that, oh, they had an accident, oh, you know, was any, and you have to be careful how you ask them, but quite often it's because people aren't thinking clearly because they've got these other worries. And so they do have accidents and get argumentative. So how might these areas, and this is all the answers are in the handout. So the skin, people get eczema, that's exacerbated. Hair, they could fall out. Heart, they could have high blood pressure. Asthma gets exacerbated. Muscle tension, headaches, depression, anxiety. Reproductive system, quite often it causes infertility, and the digestion, well, people have IBS. So have a look at all the answers to that, and look at the reasons why exercise is important, and lifestyle advice for someone suffering from insomnia. It's all there in the handout. So some stress management ideas, there's some on there, and some of those ideas were from clients. And there was this guy, and he'd had a really bad time. He'd had a breakdown. He'd had to leave work, and he came to me for reflexology, and I was doing batch remedies, and he was trying everything. He was going horse riding, he was going golf, he was doing this, he was doing that. He was coming to me, he was going to have CBT. He was having, he really wanted to get over this. And when he felt better, I said to him, what was it that helped you? Because I knew he'd just done so much. And bless him, he said that it helped coming to me for reflexology and the batch remedies. But it was some really simple things that helped him. And it was having a bath and putting candles around the bath. He said that helped him a lot. And lying in a pool and floating. Yeah. Two of the simplest things that you could think of, actually. And he tried just about everything. And that reminds me as well of when I was teaching this and talking about this sort of thing to a class in Belton, actually, in Norfolk. And I remember this woman saying that her son was in the army. This is about the candles. And when they'd come back from one of the wars that we'd had, the army recommended the families to put candles around the room for when the family member came home. And it was noted that the ones where the families bothered and did it, they recovered better because there was always a recovery thing when they've been to a war with PTSD and all sorts of things, that they assimilated better to normal life, if you like, if the family, because the family had done this with the candles. So whether or not it was because it was a loving family anyway that bothered to do it, or the candles, who knows? But it's worth knowing, isn't it? So here you've got a test on your reflexes. That's going to be a nice surprise, whatever your teacher decides. So I hope that helped. There's a lot to it, but it's one of the key lessons, I think. Yeah.